There's a bottle of olive oil sitting in your kitchen right now that has the words extra virgin printed across the front in confident Mediterranean-styled lettering. It's the bottle you reach for when you're drizzling over a salad, finishing a plate of pasta, sautéing the vegetables for Sunday dinner. The label has Italian words on it, or Spanish, or Greek, and a picture of olives, or a coastal village, or a sun-drenched grove. The price was reasonable, the brand felt familiar, and every time the bottle runs low, you replace it with another that looks essentially the same. And the cycle continues year after year, with almost no examination of what's actually in the bottle. Olive oil occupies a specific position in the American kitchen. It carries a reputation as one of the cleaner, healthier cooking oils. And when it's the real thing, that reputation is genuinely earned. Decades of Mediterranean diet research have tied real extra virgin olive oil to measurable cardiovascular and cognitive benefits, with polyphenols and antioxidants that the human body responds to in documented ways. The category should be one of the more trustworthy aisles in the grocery store. These aren't fringe concerns. The bottle in your hand may not contain what its label claims, and the gap between the marketing and the reality has direct consequences for the cardiovascular benefits the consumer reasonably believes they're paying a premium to obtain. For an adult past 60, where olive oil's documented role in supporting heart health, brain function, and inflammation management actually matters, buying a bottle that fails its labeling standard is not just a financial concern, it's a health concern. These aren't obscure bottles from the back of a discount shelf. These are brands that dominate the olive oil aisle by volume. These are names so familiar that most consumers have never once paused to ask whether what's inside the bottle matches what's printed on the front. Today we're walking through 9 olive oil brands you should think twice about before buying. And we're finishing with the alternatives that actually deliver what the category is supposed to deliver. If this kind of information matters to you, take a second to like this video and subscribe. It helps this content reach the people who need to see it. Let's get into it. 1. Bertolli Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Bertolli is the default. It is, by almost every measure, the most recognized olive oil name on American grocery shelves. The green bottle has been sitting in kitchens for generations. It's what most people reach for when they haven't thought carefully about what they're buying. And the brand has benefited enormously from that automatic, unexamined loyalty. The packaging implies Italian heritage, with prominently featured Italian language elements and imagery that suggests a Tuscan or Mediterranean origin. The reality of where Bertolli oil actually comes from is more complicated than the bottle suggests. Bertolli does not own olive groves. The brand is a marketing label that sources oil from multiple countries: Spain, Italy, Tunisia, Greece, Argentina, depending on the year and the price of bulk oil, and blends them under the Bertolli name in bottling facilities that may or may not be located in any of those countries. The imported from Italy or product of Italy language that appears on some Bertolli bottles refers, in many cases, to the bottling location rather than the origin of the oil inside. Under European Union and US labeling rules, an oil bottled in Italy can be labeled as such even if the olives were grown and pressed elsewhere. The 2010 UC Davis testing flagged Bertolli specifically. Multiple samples failed the international sensory and chemical standards required for the extra virgin classification, with some samples showing oxidation markers consistent with refined olive oil rather than first press extra virgin. The brand has updated its sourcing protocols since, and current bottles are not identical to the ones tested in 2010, but the underlying business model, a marketing label sourcing bulk oil from the global market, remains the same. So while Bertolli has built one of the most recognized olive oil names through decades of consistent shelf presence and effective Italian-styled branding, this bottle quietly raises a question the green packaging is designed to prevent. When the marketing implies a single origin Italian oil and the actual sourcing is global commodity blending, who is the labeling designed to inform? 2. Filippo Berio Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Filippo Berio sits beside Bertolli as the other dominant Italian-branded mass-market olive oil in the American grocery aisle. The packaging is more restrained than Bertolli's, leaning into a heritage label aesthetic that implies a smaller, more careful operation. The brand has been sold in the United States for over a century, and the longevity carries its own implicit credibility for consumers who associate brand age with product quality. The reality of Filippo Berio's sourcing model is largely the same as the rest of the imported mass market category. The brand sources oil from Italy, Spain, Greece, Tunisia, and other Mediterranean producers, blends it, and bottles it under the Filippo Berio name. The 2010 UC Davis study tested Filippo Berio Extra Virgin alongside Bertolli and reported similar findings. Multiple samples failed the international standards for extra virgin classification on either the chemical or sensory criteria, or both. The brand has has subsequently faced class action litigation in the United States over the imported from Italy labeling on bottles that contained oil sourced primarily from outside Italy, with the case settling in 2017. So while Filippo Berio has built more than a century of brand recognition through consistent shelf presence and traditional Italian styling, the bottle quietly raises a point the heritage packaging never quite addresses. When the marketing leans on Italian tradition and the supply chain operates as a global commodity blend, what is the consumer's loyalty actually attached to? 3. Pompeian extra virgin olive oil. Pompeian has built its position on the implication that the brand is a more authentic, more carefully sourced alternative to the larger mass market competitors. The packaging emphasizes Mediterranean tradition. The brand prominently displays the OECD certification on some bottles, which is a North American Olive Oil Association quality verification. The price point sits slightly above Bertolli and Filippo Berio in many stores, with the implication that the small premium is buying a meaningfully more careful product. The reality is that Pompeian operates on a similar global blending sourcing model as the other mass market brands, with the OECD certification serving as the primary verification mechanism, and that certification has limitations. The bottle being purchased today may be meaningfully better than the 2010 sample. The brand has updated practices and continues to invest in sourcing transparency. But the fundamental business model, global commodity sourcing, blending, repackaging under a Mediterranean-styled label, places Pompeian closer to Bertolli and Filippo Berio than the slightly elevated price point and the OECD seal might suggest. So while Pompeian has built a position through Mediterranean styling and trade association certification, the bottle quietly raises a question the seal is designed to prevent. When the verification is provided by an industry trade group rather than an independent third party, what does the seal actually verify? 4. Carapelli extra virgin olive oil. Carapelli is one of several Italian branded olive oil products owned by larger multinational food conglomerates, with the brand serving as a heritage-styled label within a broader portfolio of mass-market food products. The bottle is designed to communicate Tuscan tradition and small producer authenticity. The price point sits in the same mid-tier range as the other imported mass-market brands. And consumers reaching for Carapelli specifically because they want a step up from Bertolli or Filippo Berio are operating on visual cues that the underlying business model does not back up. The brand sources from the same global commodity oil markets as its competitors. The bottling, the blending, and the labeling follow the same playbook. The Carapelli name carries Italian visual heritage, but the actual sourcing transparency is essentially identical to the rest of the imported mid-tier category. Independent testing has, over the years, flagged Carapelli samples for failing extra virgin classification standards, with similar consistency to the other brands covered above. The specific concern with Carapelli is the gap between the artisan Tuscan visual styling and the multinational commodity blend sourcing reality. The packaging communicates one production model. The supply chain operates under a fundamentally different one. So while Carapelli has earned shelf space through evocative Italian region styling, the bottle quietly raises a question the Tuscan visual cues are designed to prevent. When the imagery suggests a single estate or region, and the supply chain operates as a global commodity blend, what does the imagery actually tell the consumer? 5. Star extra virgin olive oil. Star is owned by the same parent company as Filippo Berio in the United States market and operates as a parallel brand at a slightly lower price point. The bottle is simpler than the Italian branded competitors. The marketing leans less on heritage and more on accessibility. The price point places Star squarely in the budget end of the mass market olive oil category, which makes it a default choice for cost-conscious shoppers who want olive oil but aren't willing to pay the premium of more aggressively positioned brands. The formulation reality matches the price point. Star sources from the same global commodity oil markets, blends under similar protocols, and bottles under the same parent company quality framework as Filippo Berio. The 2010 UC Davis study included Star samples in its testing and reported similar findings: failures against international extra virgin classification standards. The brand has subsequently updated its protocols, but the budget tier position within an already imported blend supply chain creates a category where the consumer is buying a product that, even compared to mid-tier mass market alternatives, has fewer dimensions on which to deliver the qualities that extra virgin is supposed to represent. For consumers reaching for Star specifically because they want olive oil at the lowest available price point, the bottle quietly raises a point the budget marketing is designed to prevent. When the savings come from sourcing at the lowest tier of an already commoditized supply chain, is the savings actually translating into olive oil or into a different product wearing the olive oil label? 6. Great value, extra virgin olive oil. Great value occupies the same dominant budget position in the the olive oil aisle that the brand occupies across the rest of the grocery store. The price point is low. The availability is universal across one of the largest retail footprints in the country. The yellow and white packaging has become visually synonymous with affordable, basic grocery shopping. And for millions of households, Great Value has been the default olive oil purchase, not because anyone evaluated it, but because it was on the shelf at the lowest price. The sourcing model behind Great Value olive oil follows the standard house brand playbook for the category, sourced from whichever bulk olive oil supplier offered the lowest price at the time of procurement, bottled to specifications, labeled to meet the minimum regulatory standards for the extra virgin classification. The price point that makes Great Value attractive isn't the result of agricultural innovation or efficient sourcing. It reflects ingredient choices at the lowest tier the commodity olive oil market allows, with the savings passed to the consumer at the cost of every dimension that distinguishes a reliable extra virgin oil from a commodity-grade approximation. So while Great Value has built a durable position through pricing and shelf presence, the bottle quietly leaves a question unasked by most of the shoppers who reach for it. When the sourcing model is engineered to hit a price point rather than a quality standard, is the bottle actually delivering olive oil or just the appearance of it? 7. Colavita Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Colavita has built one of the more deliberate premium positioning stories in the imported olive oil category. The packaging is elegant. The brand emphasizes its Italian heritage and partnerships with regional Italian producers. The price point sits comfortably above the budget mass market brands, and consumers reaching for Colavita are typically operating on the assumption that the premium is buying a meaningfully different product than what's available at the lower price points. The reality is more nuanced. Colavita does maintain stronger sourcing relationships with Italian producers than some mass market competitors, and the brand's quality control protocols are more documented than the budget category supports. On those dimensions, Colavita is genuinely a step up. The price gap between Colavita and a genuinely traceable single estate Italian olive oil is smaller than most consumers realize. The price gap between Colavita and the budget mass market brands is also smaller than the bottle's positioning implies. The brand sits in an awkward middle ground where the premium is real, but the product upgrade may not match the price upgrade. So while Colavita has built a legitimate position through more careful Italian sourcing than its lower-priced competitors, the bottle quietly raises a question the elegant packaging is designed to prevent. When the premium covers some of the upgrade but not all of it, is the consumer being told clearly enough where the upgrade stops? 8. Kirkland Signature Olive Oil. Kirkland Signature occupies a different position than most of the brands covered earlier. It has in fact performed comparatively well in some independent testing, and the brand has earned a reputation among shoppers who pay attention to olive oil quality as one of the more reliable mass market options on American shelves. The harvest dates on Kirkland bottles are also inconsistent. Some product lines now print harvest information. Others continue to use only Best By dating that doesn't communicate what consumers need to know about freshness. For a category where freshness is one of the most important and least discussed dimensions of actual quality, that inconsistency matters. For an adult past 60, specifically choosing olive oil for cardiovascular and cognitive benefits, the variability across the Kirkland line means the consumer cannot confidently predict the polyphenol profile of the bottle they're bringing home. The premium SKUs in the line are genuinely solid options. The volume-priced ones are closer to the mass market mid-tier than the brand reputation implies. So while Kirkland Signature has earned a generally positive reputation through warehouse club pricing and select premium SKUs that genuinely outperform their price point, the broader brand quietly raises a point the warehouse club halo is designed to obscure. When the brand name is the same across the entire line, but the sourcing, harvest dating, and quality verification are not. What does the brand name actually guarantee? 9. Partanna Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Partanna sits at a different position in the olive oil aisle. A Sicilian branded oil with a distinct visual identity, a heritage rooted in the town of Partanna in western Sicily, and a price point that sits comfortably in the mid to upper tier of the imported category. The brand has earned a meaningful following among consumers who want to step up from the mass market Italian brands without paying single estate prices. The Sicilian olive oil tradition the bottle leans on is real. The regional sourcing claim is more specific than the generic product of Italy, labeling that defines most competitors. And the brand has not been flagged in the major fraud studies that have raised concerns about Bertolli, Filippo Berio, and the wider mass market category. category. For an adult past 60, specifically choosing olive oil for the cardiovascular and cognitive benefits the research supports, the polyphenol profile of any given Partanna bottle cannot be reliably predicted because the verification infrastructure that would confirm it is not part of the brand's labeling system. The bottle may deliver, the bottle may not. The consumer has no way to know in advance. So while Partanna has built a legitimate position through Sicilian regional identity and a step up from the mass market commodity tier, the bottle quietly raises a question the regional branding is designed to prevent. When the implied authenticity outpaces the actual traceability infrastructure, where does the consumer's accurate understanding of what they're buying come from? Fortunately, there are options that do this better. Safer alternative. Number 1, California Olive Ranch Reserve Collection. California Olive Ranch built its business on a specific philosophy that addresses the core problem with the imported olive oil category. Produce extra virgin olive oil domestically with full traceability from grove to bottle and the harvest date and origin transparency that European imported brands have historically struggled to provide. The Reserve Collection specifically uses olives grown in California, cold pressed within hours of harvest, and bottled with a clear harvest date printed on every bottle. The processing is mechanical from start to finish. No solvents, no industrial refining, no blending of refined oil into the formula. The polyphenol content is verified at production. The flavor profile reflects the actual character of California olive varieties rather than the homogenized profile that defines blended commodity oils. The harvest date on the bottle matters more than most consumers realize. Olive oil quality degrades meaningfully over time, particularly when exposed to light and heat. A bottle labeled extra virgin may have been pressed 18 months before reaching the shelf, meaning what's inside is no longer what extra virgin oil is supposed to be by the time you open it. California Olive Ranch's harvest date transparency lets the consumer evaluate freshness, which is one of the more important and least discussed dimensions of real olive oil quality. The price is higher than the imported mass market brands, but meaningfully lower than the highest end European single estate options. For consumers who want genuine extra virgin olive oil with documented traceability at a price point that doesn't punish weekly use, the Reserve Collection represents one of the cleaner switches available in American grocery distribution. Safer alternative. Number 2, Cobram Estate Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Cobram Estate is one of the largest single-source olive oil producers in the world, with operations in Australia and California, and the brand has built its reputation on a specific commitment to harvest-to-bottle traceability and rigorous internal quality testing. The brand's California operation produces olive oil from olives grown on its own groves, with clearly labeled harvest dates, verified polyphenol content, and chemical and sensory testing that meets stricter standards than the international extra virgin minimum. The bottles include detailed information about the specific olive varietals used, the milling process, and the polyphenol levels in each harvest, the kind of transparency the imported mass market category has never provided. The flavor profile is distinct. Cobram Estate produces oils across a range of intensities, from mild to robust, letting the consumer match the oil to their specific use case rather than buying a one-size-fits-all blend. For an adult past 60, specifically choosing olive oil for the cardiovascular and cognitive benefits the research supports, Cobram Estate delivers the polyphenol profile that justifies olive oil's place in those research studies. This is what real extra virgin olive oil is supposed to deliver, and the bottle backs up the labeling claim with documented testing. Safer alternative. Number 3, Brightland Awake Olive Oil. Brightland operates at the smaller scale premium end of the American olive oil market, with a sourcing model built around small California groves and a commitment to single harvest, early press production. The Awake variety is the brand's flagship, an olive oil pressed from olives harvested early in the season, which produces a more polyphenol-rich, more peppery oil than the milder late harvest alternatives. The bottle includes harvest date, milling location, and varietal information. The packaging is more design forward than the heritage-styled imported brands, but the actual production model is closer to genuine artisanal olive oil than what most premium imported bottles deliver. What makes Brightland relevant beyond its own bottle is what it demonstrates about the category. A genuinely traceable, harvest-dated, polyphenol-tested olive oil exists. The price gap between this kind of product and the mass market imported brands is smaller than the quality gap between the two, meaning on a per spoonful basis, the better product frequently delivers more usable benefit per dollar than the cheaper alternatives, which means the decision is primarily about information, not economics, information. Before you reach into the cabinet and grab the same bottle you've been buying for years, it's worth sitting with what you've just heard. For anyone past 60, olive oil's documented role in supporting supporting cardiovascular health, cognitive function, and inflammation management makes the category genuinely worth getting right. The cumulative difference between cooking with a real polyphenol-rich extra virgin olive oil for years and cooking with a refined or adulterated approximation of one shows up in real ways, in the actual nutritional compounds entering your body across thousands of meals. If this video gave you something to think about, go ahead and like it. It helps this kind of content reach people who would want to know it. Share it with someone who has a bottle of olive oil in their kitchen they've never thought twice about. They might be glad you did. And if you want more videos that break down what's actually in the everyday products most people never stop to question, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the more clearly you understand what's in your food, the better the decisions you get to make for yourself.